know what? Your friends are out there. Look at them. There they are. Well, hey, as usual, he doesn't even care, but I do. Hi, everybody. It's Robert Earl out here at the Eco Ranch Sustainable Living Education Center, or what is fast becoming the Eco Ranch Sustainable Living Educational Center, and Cascade the Wonder Dog, and as usual, we wonder just what his job is around here. We have a gaggle of geese, literally a gaggle of geese, look it up, supervising and egging me on, but this is a vlog for what's going on out here. Now, if you have just come by to the vlog because of a keyword or you're just surfing around, thank you for coming. Please look at the rest of the channel. But this might be a little bit boring because we're talking about things that have happened recently or are going to happen, and not necessarily a how-to or how to live sustainably or how I built something. It's more like an update, the vlog. But by all means, stay and watch it, but just look at the rest of the channel. So, there's been some quantum leaps out here. One of them that you've noticed is no pink shirt today. I'm trying to wear out these couple of shirts that aren't pink, so as soon as this one is done wearing out, it's gone. But take a look at the greenhouse area. Quantum leap in what we've done, huh? Of course, we have the solar panels now that eventually are going to run. We're going to add 2 more out here, and they're going to eventually run the entire greenhouse off of 12-volt power. Since I have so much 12-volt equipment, but we're also converting the rest of the house to 48 volts. That's going to be in time because right now Debbie and I are literally struggling from day to day and will be until September 11th, 2019. The reason we're struggling is because of this huge quantum leap here. And I'll explain that to you because it's part of the fundraiser that we've had, the Facebook fundraiser, part of the reason I ask for donations, and part of the reason that in the next 6 weeks, we're never going to ask for donations again because we're damn near to our goal. But let me explain to you a little bit. You know, you always hope when you're trying to do something that requires or asks for involvement from people or donations, you always are hoping for a benevolent benefactor to come out, that millionaire in the closet to come out and say, well, here. Well, we didn't have one of those, but we did have somebody with a huge, gracious, and kind heart that came out here not once, but twice, the second time recently, came out and brought a piece of equipment to work on the area here, the entire Sustainable Living Education Center area that we are developing, to work on the dam. And also he brought a lot of material with him, an awful lot of material that we were able to use to finish the roof on the greenhouse. And also to build the float beds that we're doing for our one little money-making operation, which is going to be growing produce for people in the area. And I've already got people waiting for that. The first produce has been planted. We're going to finish the flood bed, and I'll show you that in a minute. But this fellow that came out worked tirelessly for 10 days with me. We got a tremendous amount of work done. As I said, we put the roof on the greenhouse. And we've done a lot of other stuff, and I'm going to try to show it to you. But since I mentioned the fundraiser, let's get that thing out of the way. We had a miscommunication. I only spend about $200 to $300 a month on construction because that's really all we have now that we're supporting the animals and ourselves, and I only spend that much. Well, we had a bit of a miscommunication where I thought that our guest was going to buy some lumber for me, and when we had it all there and all my friends in the lumber yard are standing around me looking, they give me the total, and he looked at me and I said, oh. So I wrote a check for $800, almost our entire income. So that was our bill money and food money for the entire month. So we were just sitting here on a wing and a prayer with $45 for gasoline, waiting for the rest of the money to come in. Now, on one hand, it's a tragedy. On the other hand, what it did for us was it put $800 into the building, which lowered the fundraiser amount by $800. We are less than $500 away from having the from the goal, which was the goal to complete the greenhouse. The rest of the structure, everything is there. We don't need any additional money for that. So we're within $500 of that. That's the great news. The bad news is we're out of animal feed, etc., etc. So now would be a great time for maybe not the benevolent millionaire in the closet, but the benevolent thousandaire in the closet to maybe donate a little bit to us so Debbie and I can buy animal feed and try to get through until September 11th. The goal is $500 for the entire fundraiser. That's what's left after all the wonderful donations this fellow brought, the work that he did, and my $800 unexpected contribution. So the donate button's on the main page here on the channel. It's also a Facebook fundraiser that I'll put the link to. And you can contact me also if you need to know how to just donate through PayPal. So that's out of the way, and I fully expect that we won't ever be asking anybody to make any donations again. However, I will leave the donate button up because we are operating and offering our services right now, or the ability to teach people how to live sustainably for no cost. So it does cost us a little bit of money to have them. So I'll leave the donate button there. But that should be the last we hear about it. Well, that, and I'll mention it on the live stream on Tuesday, which if you're new here, the live stream comes up every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, whether it's Central Daylight right now or Central Standard. We missed it the last 2 weeks because I did have my company here and we were working very, very hard. But this Tuesday, definitely going to have it. But let's show you a little bit about what we've done in the last 2 weeks here. It's very exciting, and there's a lot of exciting things going on. Hey, I'll get behind the camera for a minute. First thing we've done is we were able to pour the entire footing for the greenhouse. So the footing is done, and we're ready to put the, as it turns out, that glass there is going to be enough to fill most of this area here, so I won't even have to do any masonry, except over where the masonry kind of ends abruptly. So that was great. That footing was marvelous to get done, because I do have a health issue that's popped up. We're going to discuss that in the live stream on Tuesday, but I did have a health issue that's popped up that's going to limit the amount of strength I have to do much of anything in the future. But the footing's up. We're ready to go with the footing. The entire roof is done, set up. There's translucent panels and some solid panels strategically to filter the light where we need filtering. That's up, done, ready to go. I have to do some leveling in here, and the big one is right in front of you, the giant float bed. This float bed will end up like this float bed, which we've harvested now already, ready to replant. Those plants are in their seeding right now. This float bed is 2.5 times the size. Actually, it's 3 times the size of this first float bed. This one's going to be where we have, where we're going to be growing plants that we can sell to the area residents that are being raped, literally being raped by the price of produce. So hopefully we can have some produce that's tastier, better, and fresher for less money, or at least the same money. This is 8 by 12. The liner has been a little bit late in coming, but we'll have that up, and there'll be a separate video about me getting this thing going. But we were able to build this and get it up, get it running, and off to the races. Right now the water is not running in here because we're having a little bit of electrical issue, waiting for the sun to get a little higher, and we'll turn the water on. But you can see that our lotus bed has actually started maturing. When I say mature, that means that the leaves are coming up off of the water instead of sitting on the water. That's the difference between a lotus bed and a lily bed. The water lilies will sit on the surface of the water. The lotus will raise up above it. As they mature, they raise up. Right now, most of the bed is young and laying down, but you can see some of it starting to come up. This corner, the smaller lily pads, are a water poppy. They're not the lotuses, but they are ready. They are starting to mature. We've been harvesting our tomatoes from the 2 different tomato plants for quite some time, and I'm going to show you over here. I did an earlier video where we planted I believe I planted 24 yard-long bean plants. Now this is the first harvest off the yard-long beans. We're going to have these tonight for dinner. These are amazing. I see a bug is there. We'll have to deal with that bug. But this is amazing, and these will be probably easily 10 times what we can eat just out of this little bed here that we're going to train up on this piece of old fencing. And over here, I don't know if you can see any disturbances in the water or even see any of them, but the tilapia have, just since the last video that I shot about the tilapia, they've gained about an inch in size, and they're actually waiting, they're actually now eating the food that I throw in. For the longest time they'd run and hide. In fact, let me throw a little food in. All right, I feed them right there. Here's a little handful of food. Let's see if they'll start some. Yeah, see them coming up? There they go. So these guys are anywhere from, I think they're up around 6 inches, but 6 inches and skinny. They're going to get a lot bigger. They're going to start breeding in here. These guys that are in here are going to be breeders, and all this vegetation will protect the babies. Again, we were all scheduled and had 300 fish ready to be shipped, and that little bit of a miscommunication made it so I had to embarrass myself and cancel the 300 fish. Hopefully we'll be able to get the 300 fish real soon, put them in here, and these will be the fish that will be the integral part of the entire aquaponics system. What else is going on, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you. Well, gang, I came out here a while ago to try to deal with the chaos that has become my water garden. Things have grown unbelievably fast. I mean, I knew water vegetables grew fast, but they're going unbelievably fast. A couple of other things have really grown too, but the bottom line is I got 42 tilapia in here. That's where I lost count. There's probably a couple more. And they're having trouble getting around because the Kang and the La Coyote squash have overrun the thing. Apparently the La Coyote loves to get in there and get their tendrils in the water, and they suck up the water, and then they go nuts. So what I'm doing today, and I thought you might get a kick out of seeing the before and after, is I'm going to trim as much of the glarf as I can out of here. Now basically that's going to mean I'm cutting a lot of Kang out, because this La Coyote, I'm afraid to cut any of it, because I might get from the looks of this, I could get as many as 100 squash out of this. And then I've got another squash called the Thai tribal melon. So I'm going to try to get some sense out of it with the Kang, and I'm going to get rid of a lot of this basil in here too. But I wanted you to get a look at the place, particularly over my shoulder. I think you can see that corner. That corner, the La Coyote got its tendrils in the water, and it's been growing like crazy. And if you've seen the water garden before, I've only got 3 stepping stones there, so I can't even reach the back unless I come in from the back, which I won't be able to do once we get the windows up. But I want you to get a good look at this. My pepper plants are huge. In front of you here are these are my decorative split-leaf philodendrons. Their fruit is edible, however, and it's tasty. I've eaten it. In front of you is an out-of-control chive plant. The tank is still waiting for fish because I just haven't had the money to get the 200 fish I need for this. And everything else, it's chaos right now. But I'm going to turn this, I'm going to leave you right where you are, spend a couple hours in here straightening it out, turn it back on. But in less than 5 minutes, I got all this Kang just from what had to be trimmed. That's enough for dinner for Debbie and I threw away the stalks to give to the chickens. The stalks are edible, and the stems of the leaves are edible as well. That's just the leaves. But since we have so much, and we have the chickens, I just give the stems and the stalks to the chickens. So I have no idea how much Kang I'm going to get, but I know that Debbie and I are going to have a bunch to eat tonight. Anyway, remember this shot right here, and I'm going to cut away, and we'll see what happens. Well, I'm done, and that was almost a waste of time for you guys. It doesn't look like I did much. I did make a lot of room, and I'm seeing right where I pulled a whole bunch of Kang out. There's a tilapia about that big right now, sitting right up there. So at least I made room for the tilapia. And I have this bag of Kang, There's probably a pound of Kang Kong in here. That's like 3 meals for Debbie and I. That's just off of what was trimmed. I did not harvest. And then I cut the Kang Kong up in bite-sized pieces and picked up a whole bunch of seaweed. But this bucket is full, and that's for the chickens. Now that you might get a kick out of watching the chickens gobble it up. Boy, I'll tell you what. Living here in the desert, I know you can't see me, but living here in the desert, you know, it's hot. It's in the 90s right now. I'm talking. But when you step into that greenhouse, now with the roof on it, it's running about 85–95% humidity. It's horrible. I mean, you can see I think you can see I'm soaking wet and sweating. So let's feed these chickens and ducks and geese. Right here was a huge piece that I threw out with leaves and everything. And they've got everything except the roots off it. Let's see what happens. Here, chick, chick. Here, chick, chick. There, chick, chick. Okay, guys. That's 10 minutes. Take a look at what they've eaten up. They've left some, but they got most of it. Well, the more I talk, the more the geese are going to talk, but I figured I'd leave it on this. Kang Kong, I've talked about it before, but I wanted to just add something about Kang Kong, which is the majority of what I had to move out of the way and trim. It's a member of the morning glory family. It is an aquatic plant, but it's a member of the morning glory family. USDA has deemed it invasive in some states, primarily in the deep south where there's waterways that could get clogged with it if people were too stupid to eat it, which I can't imagine anybody being too dumb to eat this because it really is that good tasting. I don't like to use the word Chinese or Vietnamese water spinach because it makes you think it tastes like spinach. Doesn't taste anything like spinach. So I like to call it Kang Kong. Remember the Morning Glory family. It's August 15th now, and I've got a long growing season yet ahead of me. But the hours of daylight will be triggering these things to start blooming soon. So that's why it was important to trim, because once I start to get blooms on the plants, I won't be harvesting them until I've got seed pods. Beautiful white Morning Glory type seeds, or blooms, excuse me. They'll attract your hummingbirds, which, you know, coincidentally are migrating right at the same time as you're going to get the plants. So it's a good thing to have to plant in an outdoor water garden seasonally, and then you can keep 5, 6, 7 stalks alive inside your house and then plant them back outside in the spring, or save your seeds. The seeds are a bit more difficult to get started and take longer, so I recommend keeping some plants alive. But anyway, I thought you did a kick out of watching that, and this is what's left. And let's go on to the next thing in this vlog. Another thing that we were able to get done, thanks to the kindness of that one individual that just came out and stayed here for about 10 days, really. But thanks to his kindness and extremely hard work, when I wasn't really able to do a whole lot, I was able to do a lot, but not as much as I used to. We got the footing poured for the house here. This is the remaining portion of where we're going to live. Now, we've always kept, when we've asked for any help or donations, we've always kind of kept the agricultural, sustainable part separate from the house. But he did want to help with the house, so we have this ready to go and ready to build. Which brings up something that, a discussion mainly that I'd like to have. This footing, this whole building is designed to be 3 feet thick with rock on both sides and then fill and some styrofoam board in the middle. Again with the gaggle of geese. I kill the roosters, I get the gaggle of geese. Oh well. But that was what was supposed to happen. This problem I'm having with my muscles, I'm no longer able to pick up those really, really heavy rocks. Those ones that most of you wouldn't pick up anyway, 200 and 300 pound rocks. I'm not able to handle them anymore. And in fact, most of these rocks are giving me trouble. So this section in here, we're going to switch from rock on this section to doing it in bottles. So I cut it from 3 feet down to 3 feet wide to 2 feet because the bottles are a little easier to work with, a little more dimensional. You're going to have bottles on the outside, bottles on the inside, and in the middle, we're going to put the styrofoam board and fill, like always. But one of the things I'm going to do for a little hot is here. This is a south-facing wall. They're telling you, I can't tell you. We're going to have a south-facing wall here. And heat gain is a real problem, even in the wintertime. So what we're going to do in addition to the styrofoam board in between is we're going to take Great Stuff, that expanding foam, and squirt each bottle with Great Stuff, so each bottle will fill up with Great Stuff and give us additional insulation in addition to the styrofoam. So future visitors, I've always said in the past, bring Portland or beer. You can still bring beer, but we don't need Portland anymore. What we are going to need, though, is going to be Great Stuff. So bring Great Stuff. The super expanding Great Stuff and 2x4s. Those are the things we need the most right now. But he poured this with me. Now we're able to just take off and build the turret. We will have this done. I said the goal was the end of the year. I'll have it up by the end of the year. So why don't we end the vlog here? That's a good place to end it, right, Cascade? What is here? Well, this fella, again, I cannot tell you how much he helped us. It was a huge help. One of the things he did, he brought the coolest attachment to his skid steer that I've ever seen. It was a bucket with a tumbler on it. Took a scoop of dirt, brought it over to a pile, and tumbled it, and all the sand tumbled out. And the gravel stayed in the bucket. When the sand tumbled out, then he went over and dumped the gravel somewhere else. He left me with this, which it looks to be about 3 cubic yards of sand ready to mix into mortar or concrete, which is pretty close to what I need to finish the house. I might need a little bit more, but I don't need these 3 cubic yards, that's for sure. So that was a huge help. That machine was awesome to look at. I meant to get video of it and never did because the heat was really bothering us. And we were working awfully hard, so I never did get that, but it was a fantastic piece of equipment. Left us this, so we are ready to go, and look for individual videos on things starting next week with the float bed. And until then, it's Robert Earl along with Cascade the Wonder Dog, who's wandering. But it's Robert Earl and him and Cascade here at the Eco Ranch Sustainable Living Education Center, or soon to be Sustainable Education Center, Sustainable Living Education Center. Here he is, back again. We're saying, see you later.